the dishes that we were making.
It's about telling a story.
I want to be able to cook so that people can understand.
How do I tell someone to be more open? And I think for me, it's like, how do you do it with food?
Wow, I like that. That's great.
It's when you eat a dish that reminds you of a dish cooked by your mom.
You remember too much.
I would like to have the chicken.
When can I schedule to eat here again this week?
Hello, sir.
Hi, Jay.
Ugly Delicious is such a fun show, very unconventional cooking show. Where did the idea come from?
I think the idea was originated just opening up the restaurants and traveling and realizing so much of the very best food conversations, and not only did the conversations, the very best food wasn't getting the recognition it deserved. And we wanted to tell stories that weren't being told about food and culture.
The format is so different, though. It's just you guys are going to so many different countries, cities, and the personal stories. How did you come up with the format of the show? Because it's very different.
Working with Morgan, Neville, and the team at Tremolo, it was pretty easy from the get-go because we knew that we wanted to start with one food subject and to go down that rabbit hole and to really explore as much as we could in a lot of time all the stories that make up that food. And that was pretty much it. And like, for instance, we do pizza.
Right.
We go down, we go to Tokyo, we go to Italy, we go to New Haven, a few other places.
Yeah.
But we don't cover everything. And
even with all those places, you still don't cover everything.
We need to go to Phoenix. We need to talk about Chris Bianco, but and all these other things. And it wasn't about hitting everything. It was trying to talk about the stories that sort of are underlying to pizza.
What did you learn most about from all these different stories about the food and what it means to people? What did you learn most?
I think what I learned most is oftentimes cultural assumptions about food are oftentimes wrong. Yeah.
Where does your love for food come from?
My mother and my grandmother were amazing cooks, so I grew up in a household, thankfully, where food was a priority and just good eating. I think everyone wants to eat well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No one wants to eat poorly. So being able to experience that and wanting to share that is one reason why I got in the restaurant business.
Nice. And Ugly Delicious, where does that name come from?
Ugly Delicious.
It can be misinterpreted.
No, it can be, but I think at its core, and you can extrapolate as much as you want from that because it can be, was a phrase that I use to term food that doesn't look great but tastes delicious. And a lot of these things, these ugly, delicious kinds of food, don't get the press or the recognition they deserve. So it doesn't mean they're not amazing. It doesn't mean that they're less delicious than something that looks super pretty.
We see some surprise guests come on the show. We have Aziz Ansari. We have a few different people. Talk about involving your different friends in the show and how they relate to the different stories.
Right. One of the things, again, from the get-go was I didn't want to own the entire narrative because I don't know everything about food. And there are other people, and that's what makes food such an amazing topic is everyone eats food, everyone has to eat food, and everyone has their own viewpoints on it. And you could be a director, writer like David Simon, or you could be, an actor like Eric Wareheim, or a journalist like Serena Dye, and all provide their expert opinions on something. Because everyone is essentially a food expert.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
Yeah.
We see some of your food heroes on the show. Talk about getting to work with them and involve them, like people like Wolfgang Puck and just all these different food gods.
Yeah, Wolfgang Puck, something that I never thought I'd get to hang out with and get his life stories. And I would love to just do more about Wolfgang Puck because he changed the food scene in America. So it's a lot. It's a lot of chef talk at times, and hopefully we don't make it too inside baseball.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about being a chef? And people often find it intimidating to cook. So why do you think people find it intimidating, and how do you want to change that?
I think the culinary world is changing for positive right now because it's a very tough business. But if anything, at its core, what I love about it is the fact that it's a little bit of everything, right? You need to tie in so many different parts of culture. It's a little bit of craft. It's a little bit of being an artist. It's a little bit of being a businessman. It's a little bit about being a farmer. It's a little bit of being a showman. And And I think that's what makes it sometimes the best job in the world.
And lastly, what did you learn most about yourself from doing the show?
What I learned most about the show is that I really sort of know nothing. And I need to stop cursing so much.
Not that much. It's not that bad.